Highway Commission order. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppel,
Here.
Fox,
Here.
Kinded,
Here.
McGinnis,
Here.
Green, absent, Mello,
Here.
Wolford.
Next item on the agenda is the minutes, January 17th meeting. We make a motion to approve. Second. Seconded. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppel,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Kinded,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Mello,
Here. Yes.
Wolford.
Yes. Introduction to announcements. This is the out-of-state meeting for District 2, the focus meeting, and we ought to introduce the commissioner, so they know where, everybody knows where we're from. Start with Commissioner Holmes.
My name is Jim Hawks. I'm representing District 6 out of North Platte.
I'm James Kindig, represent District 4, out of Grand Island.
I'm David Cowell. I represent District 3. I live in Norfolk and Benton, northeast Nebraska.
Richard McGinnis with District 1, which would be southeast Nebraska.
Greg Wolford with District 7, Southwest Nebraska, and I live in McCook.
Vicki Kramer, I'm the Director of the Nebraska Department of Transportation.
Keith Mello, representing District 2, where we're at today.
Well, Commissioner Mel, let's start with your welcome.
All right, well, thank you. Good morning to everyone. Yes, this is not very loud, but we'll get to it. So, on behalf of District 2 in the wonderful community of Fremont, it's my honor to welcome you to today's Nebraska State Highway Commission meeting here in the Fremont City Council chambers. I want to thank you to our friend Mayor Joey Spellenberg in the city of Fremont for graciously hosting us today. District 2 is at the heart of some of Nebraska's most vital transportation and economic corridors. In the presentation you'll receive later today from Tom Goodbarn, District 2 engineer will highlight the Metro Area Travel Improvement Study, or better known as MTIS, and several major transportation projects that reflect NDOT's commitment to improving safety, efficiency, and connectivity across our regional communities. From the ongoing Highway 275 expansion between Scribner and West Point, the Highway 30 bridge replacement over the Elkhorn River near Arlington, and to the Double Diamond interchange at the 192nd and Dodge, these projects enhance travel safety and support economic growth across the greater metro region. These critical projects represent significant investments in our district's infrastructure, and their success is a direct reflection of the dedicated leadership and hard work of the many talented individuals in the department, from Director Kramer to District Engineer Goodman, to the snowplow drivers, to the highway maintenance workers across the region. Your commitment and expertise have not gone unnoticed, and we greatly appreciate your tireless efforts across the district. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today in District 2 at our meeting, and I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chair.
I would probably remiss and ask, this is the District 2 focused meeting. At the end of the meeting, towards the end of the meeting, there will be point for public comment, which is one of the main reasons we are here, so anybody from the public can address the commission with needs, wants, or concern. So at this point, it's time for our director, Vicki Kramer.
Thank you, Commissioner. I wanted to start this morning first by introducing Molly, and then we'll do the formal appointment of the secretary later. But Molly has been with the department since I was here, and it's been very refreshing to have her essentially run our front office. And so as we move through staff, we know that there's been some turnover assisting the commission, but we felt it was important for you to have the same level of expertise that the director's office has. And so we are thankful for Molly to take on the additional responsibilities for any input. So many of you have interacted with her before and understand why we would make this appointment. And so for local days, this is a benefit to the commission. Jumping into business, it's hard to not talk about money firsthand right now, just because of where the state is as well as where the federal government is. And so I want to start off with the state side. So many of you have been watching the state budget as we've been negotiating around this week. The department will be part of the solution for the state budget. So what that looks like is we will be sunsetting our economic opportunity program that came out of the Transportation Innovation Act. So to the tune of about $6.5 million, we will be paying to help with the deficit that we see at the state level. And so what's helpful with that is that that was a cash transfer that came from the reserves back during the Transportation Innovation Act. So it's not user funds. All existing, programs will be moving forward. So we are confident that the impacts will be minimal, especially to the transportation program. The 2026 program, we're getting ready to announce the overall dollar amount for that. A lot of attention to the headline is what that actual dollar amount means. This year, it will not be a surprise to anyone. It's relatively close to where we were previously. The quantities may change a little bit, but I do want to make sure that the commission understands that really looking at our financial report is where you get this general sense of how much is going into construction. So in our financial report, we'll say how much that year we are putting in construction. So that's where you get a good number as opposed to just looking at the overall, the contractual value of our program. We are going to, within this program, break it up a little bit differently so that those bonding projects are included, but we do just point to the bonding piece because we would be doing those projects anyways. Finances are just a little different, but we do want to make sure they account for those. Because again, I will say it, financing is not funding, and it's something when we thoughtful about how those projects are programmed, and that we do take into account funding mechanism that is essentially financing those. As additionally, talking to the federal side, so we've got another year and a half of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So as you remember, we're around 50% federally funded, but about 90% of our projects have federal funds included in that. Exclusively federally funded, but they do have federal funds included in that. So what that means is we are very much watching what the reauthorization looks like for the surface transportation bill. So the investment, the IIJA, the bill is products by our infrastructure law, did give us about a 15% increase in our formula funding. That means just the normal operations, the money that we know is coming every year or should be coming if it's not a CR. We expect that to be maybe a slight increase, but the discretionary funds that have been made, once in a generation investment is likely to go down. And so we're watching the budget as it comes through, as well as the House CNI committee on the federal level and the Senate committees that's going to authorize the committees. Senate Commerce will also have a voice in it in terms of the funding mechanisms as well as the appropriations. So the Nebraska delegation is well suited to be able to advocate on our behalf and be able to sit with them so that they understand the importance of, for example, the bridge program and how we've been able to make that program work on the formula side as well as the discretionary side. And so we'll be doing our best to get rid of the programs that have been burdensome and hard to implement while still keeping the programs on this last surface transportation bill that have been beneficial to Nebraskans. And so working closely with the Biden administration to make sure that the Trump administration understands how to best support rural Nebraska as well as on urban needs. And so we're hopeful that voice gets heard, and we've got about another year of negotiations on that. We do expect the House to bring it prior to the midterms, and so we could actually see draft language for surface transportation reauthorization by this fall. So we'll make sure that the commission understands and has an opportunity to weigh in on those impacts and where to bring our guests. Jumping back to the state side, we did receive our budget as requested from the governor's office, minor tweaks to our benefits. And so we will give you a final report out similar to what Brian did last year in terms of the budget as well as any changes that we had for legislation at the state level. We are hopeful to get the MFP. And so if that happens, that would be on top of LB 1335 that came last year. And we continue to work with the Employment Administration to reduce those regulatory burdens that we have on us. And that's twofold, right? It makes projects move quicker. We've seen multiple projects delayed over the last several years due to the American Marine Beetle, as well as hopefully saves costs in terms of project delivery as well as mitigation impacts. And so those things, and the benefits and where we've done those different red tape reduction at bills have also been moved to the federal level with consideration from federal government for ESA Section 7 revisions as well as so very excited and look forward to working with the Sure.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is appointment of a highway commission secretary. They're asking that we approve a resolution for this. It's fairly short. I think I'll just read it so I know what we are voting on. Pursuant to the Nebraska Revised Statute 39-107, Nebraska State Highway Commission wishes to employ Molly Miller, executive coordinator at the Nebraska Department of Transportation as secretary of the State Highway Commission. Accordingly, the Nebraska State Highway Commission hereby formally appoints Molly Miller as the secretary of the State Highway Commission, subject to approval by the governor. So. Second, any further discussion? Molly, would you please call the roll?
I will. Commissioner Cockle,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Kindig,
Yes.
Green is participating remotely. McGinnis,
Yes.
Mello,
Yes.
Wolford.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Molly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
This one will take that one.
I have.
Okay. If we could sign while we move on with the district engineer for District 2, Tom Goodbar. Want to introduce your people that are here?
I have a Jim. Can you hear me through this mic? We did, we up and running. That one?
Good.
Here we go. Different venues, different rules. Hi, I'm Tom Goodborn, District 2 engineer. I was in District 1 there for about 13 years, and I've come up here to come back home, I guess, but I spent 25 years up in District 2. We were working on interstate reconstruction. Prior to going down to Lincoln. But thank you, Fremont, for hosting us up here. I'm in the house with my operations manager, Jim Laughlin is back there, and looks like the rest of them just left us to our devices. So, at any rate, got a little presentation for you. We're going to talk about something about what we've been doing for the last couple of years since the last meeting, and then a little bit about safety, and then we'll talk a little bit about where we're going. So with that, I think we have a presentation. I should have a clicker somewhere.
You're gonna need a vamp for a minute.
Got it. A lot of bugs. Y'all had a good time last night. Fremont's a beautiful community. We put a lot of money into this area over the past many years. Seems like before I left to go to Lincoln, we were working on Highway 275. I remember paving past Hooper out there, Jordan Larson's home, I guess, but we got down to the bottom of the hill down there about 2008, the money ran out. So we had this beautiful 4-lane facility that just kind of ended before we got to Scrivener, and that sat that way for a long time. And you come back up here and we just got going on it again. I know there were a lot of Corps of Engineers headaches, but financially in 2008, that was a big crash, and it changed our direction. Went down to District 1, another big project down there was that Lincoln South Beltway. That was also up and ready to go. It was a high priority and it just, that one crashed and burned also, so. Took a while to get that one resurrected. That's now done. This part of the District Two, Highway 275 is done. I know there's a little work left up in District Three, but we've got our part, finished up to the, and across the district line. We're working out the last details with Scrivener to get the relinquishment done. As we are working on Highway 30 here to get the rest of the relinquishment done here. One of those gonna work.
It's just over here, so it's coming.
Talk about like it all.
Mhm.
I don't know how much to talk about there, but, no, it's beautiful up there. I think the last time you came up, Barb showed a video of, Tim Leander showed a video of the completed Lincoln South or Fremont South Beltway, that linkage from, what used to be the Highway 77. Connects over there to 275, 77, and, that's a beautiful project too. It's gonna take a while to get that to grow in. I know the development's jumping all over it already. If you go down there, you'll see grading and houses and lakes, and it's gonna be quite a thing when it's done. So here we are. We got a program meeting. We gotta see how this looks through.
I might, if it's,
It got smaller.
we might just forward it on. So that would be cleaner.
You wanna do it? Sit right. Some.
I don't think that's the option.
Maybe while we're waiting for this, I might just jump in here. I want to thank our federal partners for Federal Highways for being here. I'm sorry. I want to thank our federal partners from Federal Highways for being here. There's been a lot of noise around some of the personnel movements with federal agencies, but we want to make sure that the commission understands that we have been incredibly happy with the service that we've gotten from Federal Highways. And really want to thank Rusty and leadership from the Nebraska division for their support. We have given not formal intent, but we are working towards formal intent for 327 NEPA assignments. So for us, what that means is that we are going to take one step further with our assumption of duties. What we found in working with the Trump administration over the last couple of months, we're still waiting for Administrator McMaster to get confirmed. We expect that to happen this week, but with I think she'll be with chief counsel Jim Payne in place. We have had multiple conversations with him as well as with Deputy Secretary Bradbury on the importance of NEPA assignment, and that is where the Trump administration will be encouraging DOTs to move in order to really take that authority onto themselves, understanding that some of the resources at the federal level may be cut in order to better serve, to make sure the resources are in the right place. And so we are working closely with the Nebraska division as well as headquarters to make sure we haven't had any impacts to service. So we are confident that our relationship with the division as well as headquarters will get us through any. So I want to make sure that the noise is one thing, but how it actually impacts Nebraska is another. So thank you to Rusty. We did bid farewell to our administrator, and so we are under an acting type situation. And so many of you have gotten a chance to meet Lane Dora. His last day, or at least last time in the office, is really today. And so, bid farewell and thank you for service. And I need that to say, Rusty, here, that really need your help. So, it'll be all kind of on about 7 to 11.
All right. Looks like we got a page. So just a brief outline, we'll go through some accomplishments, like I said, some safety stuff. We'll talk a little bit about this year's program. Sandwich into next year's program and then him just a little bit. So this corridor right here, very important. We talked about it a lot when Kyle got here. There was a lot of push to get 275 done. I'd like to say our district staff and the contractors involved did a nice job in pulling that together. We finished last fall. Next picture, you can. Some of you have driven it, maybe not all of you have, but this is close to where it used to terminate. Down there west of Scribner or west of Hooper, but now a lot of bridges. We used the 2+2 there, saved some money, leaving the existing on the right side and the new pavement on the left side. And that corridor is as far as our district goes, it's done. I know there's work to do in District 3. This is Highway 30. Another one, I believe this one we've been working on even longer than on 275. This one took a long time to get through some Corps of Engineers issues. We started building mostly out on the District 3 side and worked it back this way, but we finished this last year. We're now working on a relinquishment project on Old 30 to hand that over to Dodge County. I think Keith even drove this just the other day. He said it was really nice. He could go really fast. It's a beautiful highway. It's a safe highway. They changed a lot. I remember driving to Columbus. Cars coming at you, kind of like Highway 92 is today, but there was a lot of passing issues and whatnot. Volume got up there. Finally, we got that done. Another corridor we worked on hard is this one, 75 south of Plattsmouth. I don't know how many of you go to Nebraska City, but this thing was on the books forever. We actually graded this out back in the 90s, and that project kind of died. We had the grading out. We had to regrade it to current standards and do some stuff, but the pavement's now in. This one has a little bit different layout to it, as we got a covered median. See that you don't have that open median. It's a nice highway. This eventually will continue down to Nebraska City. We're actually doing a maintenance project south of here, but this one turned out very well. I think folks down there are happy with it. There were some safety concerns with the schools and whatnot in Murray. Every time we get one of these, kind of like, remember you guys have talked about Humphrey for a long time, and we ended up with an R cut there, right? So that was a solution. Since the R cut, there have been no fatalities at Humphrey. We didn't want to even start with a fatality at Highway 1 Murray, so we put that in. Next slide will be, I believe that this is the one in North Bend. So right out here on 30, we used the same. There were concerns about crossing traffic and high speed and a lot of school traffic. So this is yet another Humphrey. I mean, Humphrey was the first. This is the second. We now got the one down there, number 3. So this R cut installation is at North Bend. The other one down there you see at Murray. And then we have a future safety project that we qualified for. So up north of here, 91 at Nickerson, we're having some issues up there. So there's another one planned for that. That'll be coming in probably within the next 4 years, depending on funding. So a little bit about safety. That kind of segued us into safety topics. We always like to touch on a little bit of safety at the district at the meeting. Went to a ATSA convention. Click on that. Start that slide on the left. we go to these conventions around the country and we look at products and we bring these technologies back to the district. And, I talked to Jim about this after attending an ATSA conference. These things are, we call them highlights. We purchased, we thought they'd good. They're sequential flares of what they are. I don't know if you've been out there at night. Sometimes you need something to jump out and speak to you, especially in the Omaha area with the volume of traffic we have. These things have evolved technologically to the point where you can just deploy them in any order right out of the rig. And they talk to each other and they'll set up directionally and they'll flare out directionally in the right way to guide traffic. We've got 6 or 8 sets of these. We deployed them out to our maintenance guys that are out there all night. The state patrol's now seen them. I think the state patrol is gonna pick up on them. They speak loudly to traffic. You can mount them, you can put them under cones, you can set them out there on the road by themselves. But it's a smart technology that we've taken advantage of, and I think that's kind of a lifesaver. Anything we can do to guide traffic, especially with all the night work we do, is a blessing. And on the right, we have drone technology. You probably heard drone technology, people droning on about that forever. You're gonna hear more about it. Sorry about that, but at any rate, we use these. We have a couple drone pilots in the district. We use these a lot. We're getting mileage out of them, saving money, saving time. If you click on the next one, we'll see, not that one. There we go. So these are some bridge elements up on Mormon Bridge. Hard to access. A lot of times you see things, you think you see things. You wanna go up, take a look at it. We just now deploy the drone, go up, get a close up, take some shots. We can review that stuff and see if there's more legitimate concerns or just some birds nesting or whatever, but, next slide will show you that we, during the floods we had, not too recently, but a couple of years ago, maybe last year it was. We got that high water, we flooded out over in Council Bluffs, we weren't sure how the channel was performing over there. We can just pop the drone out over there and fly over it, take a look and see whether the concerns are real or we're okay. So those are the uses. We had storms this year. We had some recent storms. Did a lot of damage to buildings. We're just able to go up there and get a couple of shots and work with our insurance people. They can either legitimize the claim quickly or deny it or whatever, but we can get that information quickly and get these repairs done. That prior slide was the salt dome we have at the 108th Street yard. Tornado passed over and pulled a few shingles off, so at any rate. And then we use it for survey. We can do all LiDAR type surveys. We can map the ground, we can cross section, we can check against cross sections. It's kind of speeding up some of the old work we used to do by hand. It also gets our crews off the road. We're using some of this to get up into culverts. We're using this to get up in traffic, up under bridges and places where it's tough. It's tough to go in and close lanes and restrict traffic. We want to be as user friendly as possible when we're out there, and these drones are helping us do that. You're going to see a lot more of that. It's all tied into project design now, but that technology is helping. So those two things, that's two little safety nuggets. And then in addition to the R cuts, we hope to keep fatalities to a minimum. Another thing we're building, and it's not in the presentation here, Vicki alluded to it, or Heath alluded to it earlier. 192nd Street, we're building a diverging diamond interchange. We built one in Lincoln at Northwest 48th. For those of you who've used that, crosses over. Maybe some of you drive down in Missouri or some of the other states have placed these in different locations where they had a number of incidents. And that DDI interchange, you can read about them on our website even, but they eliminate conflict points for traffic. Like crossing that traffic over, you line up all the ins and outs with the ramps coming on and off. And you eliminate the crossing of the opposing traffic. And it gets rid of a lot of opportunities for people to hit each other. So especially in tight quarters, which we have in 192nd, we can slip a lot of traffic through there, safely and high volume. So as the city develops, that 192nd Street is gonna get a lot of use. We plan on installing some of those we're gonna put another one at Highway 370. We're gonna put another one at Highway 50 over I-80. Kind of like the work that's out there now, doing these projects is very painful. So, getting it in there, sure gonna help if we can get an interchange at 192nd, but we'll see where that goes. That's in a study right now. It is neither here nor there. So District 2 program, I just got the one slide here. We kind of have information from the last year. We've got all these projects left for fiscal 25, and we're out building them. You've probably been out driving around in it. We're hitting Dodge Street really hard. A lot of maintenance work is needed. Some of the overlays, a lot of the bridge approaches, a lot of pavement distress. The maths are. We're out working on that. You probably saw it if you came in from the east on 275. We're doing a lot of patching, a lot of repair. These are all Band-Aids, but necessary to keep the system viable so it can service. We don't like those cracks because they let moisture in and it accelerates deterioration. We should be done with 275 all the way into Omaha. After that last project you see out there, Dodge Street, we're running all the way out to Skyline Drive, working on some of those intersections at 132nd, 144th. It's tough business. It's a lot of traffic, a lot of inconvenience, but it's what we got to do to fix it up and keep it viable. We don't really have a choice. One of the corridors on there that got pushed down the road, I'm a little concerned about. We got Highway 30 east of here, between here and Blair. I know that needs attention. We're focusing on it. We're talking about it. We're trying to find some ways to get some money to advance some work on that. Our maintenance crews have been out there working hard to fix those shoulders that blow up, but we're still fixing some flood damage from 2019, and we haven't even got all that fixed. And even this last job on 275 is repairing panels that were damaged in that flood. And of course, those of you that know 275, it goes on down through Omaha. And we've got some key bridges on that. High at 72nd Street, we're going to tear that bridge down and replace it. We're actually going to eliminate it and put an at-grade intersection. Then we've got the 38th Street Bridge. We've drawn some public attention on that. The pizza box patches got online. That was kind of a fun one, but at any rate, we work hard to maintain that structure. It's scheduled for about 28 construction. We're trying to get some money to move that back up a little bit into the slot it was in. Take care of South Omaha. But 275 has a little bit of work left. I know the city's looking at doing some overlays on that. We've got some pavement that could use some help, and we're working on getting some of that and partnering on some of that work as well. But we don't have a project program for it. At any rate, you can that last slide, you can find that on our website, and you can click on the numbers and nodes on that slide, and it'll give you a description of any project you want to see that's on there. But most of what we're going to focus on in the Omaha area, where the money's going to go, involves a thing called MTIS. I think you've all as a group heard about MTIS, the Metro Transportation Improvement Study that took place back, I think it was concluded in 2019. Well, there you go, 13 to 18. So that study with the next slide. This is our area of concern. We're partners in Iowa. They send a lot of traffic at us. We send a lot of traffic at them. We've got a couple of connection points, but we've sure got a lot of traffic moving around the metro area, and growth is abundant. If the economy's tilting, I don't see it, because we've got development in every corner of this district. And even this 2019 MTIS study has some weaknesses because of the changes that have happened since 2019. Down on 34 and 75, Bellevue's got a big plan down there. There's gonna be a big water parks, hotels, a lot of development coming in down there. I think it's a new stack building on the other side, and then they want to go with an inland port authority that initially talked about it down the hill from that, east of 75. That's clear down there. They've got a plan for Sarpy County for Platteview Road all the way across. That's not included in the study. We don't really have a route there, but you know, as things go, we will likely be partners in whatever does develop down there. That's Sarpy County down there, and Douglas County's got more development plans than I can even talk to you about today. We've got good life districts. I don't know where that's going legislatively, but there's certainly a lot of people talking about it. We've got multiple developers and Avenue 1 and up on, even on Maple Street, Sam's Club, after Costco just went in there, Sam's Club's coming in there, so Highway 64 is getting pushed. We had that outlined for an additional lane. And we thought, boy, if we ever get that far, if we ever get to, I think we needed that years ago, because that traffic out there is getting bad. We've got 370. We haven't yet programmed into Gretna between the interstate. That's developing like crazy. We just had Lerner Company came out in the paper with a big development plan that we haven't even talked to them about, but they want to start another development in Gretna. So Gretna's blowing up. Everybody's getting a lot of potential future. I don't know where everybody's going to shop or where they're going to get all the shoppers, but life is good in Nebraska. We've got Google complexes going in up on 133. We've got Facebook and Meta down on Highway 50. They're adding plants and adding facilities. We've got yeah, it's just every direction out of Omaha is expecting more and more development, more people. Up on Highway 36, we're looking at possible need for an interchange up there, given what's supposed to be coming. So that study overview and MTIS looked at mostly the interstate corridor from our perspective. So that regional, it recognized the interstate freeway systems needs. There's your main routes. Next slide. So look back up a little bit. Those should have come in one at a time, but a lot of the work we're doing on a lot of these routes right now are we're band-aiding, we're fixing, we're trying to buy time. But a lot of these things, and if you're a user in the city of Omaha, you know where the pinch points are. If you drive down Dodge Street, 680, 480, whatever, you know where you hit the traffic. You know what time of day you hit the traffic. We're working on one of those right now. We've started in on one of these MTIS projects. Q Street to wrapping around towards Highway 50. There's actually two projects in there, but we're gonna add a lane every day that backs up and holds traffic up. User cost is through the roof, and we're trying to add that lane. Now, it gets worse before it gets better, and that's what we're telling everybody. And yeah, the trucks jake brake and all those things happen. So we're just gonna have to live with that for a year. But we're getting through that. We got Hawkins Construction out there going full guns, and we'll get that lane added between Q and 126. Then we're adding some additional capacity lanes going into Highway 50, because that traffic actually queues up onto the interstate at times during the day also. So that's one pinch point we're working on. We've got others we're gonna look at. there'll be a lot of Band-Aids, but, go ahead with the next slide. So the executive committee, everybody got together. This was a MAPA type effort. This is a MAPA effort. This is getting everybody coordinating, thinking in the same direction. On the stakeholder committee were all those folks. You can go on. So strategic package 7, roadway improvement. I know these things don't mean a lot, but there's a lot of critical corridors identified right there that money's gonna need to go into. Now, this is the district program meeting, and we'll have another one in 2 years, so it doesn't do any good to talk a long ways out on that. But just to tell you, we have now, in 2019, this study was done, we're finally getting some projects rolling. And we're gonna get and keep some projects rolling, okay? So I guess that's the crux of it, but you see the map there, you see I have another presentation, we can't get it to load unfortunately, but it has a little more detail on traffic volumes. Perhaps at another meeting. But you see the map there, traffic volumes are high, I think our peak volume is 180, 190,000 cars on I-80 down by 50th Street. We've got up to 118,000 cars on Dodge a day going through different areas. We've got a lot of people to serve, and we got to keep this existing system functioning. So that's kind of, the planners have to lay this out in a grid that makes some sense. It's kind of like eating an elephant. When you look at trying to throw financing over the top of a grid like this, if that was zoomed in, you can see the years up on top. The years scroll across, and the needs are everywhere. So we got freeway and interstate needs. It amounts to more or less $1 billion in today's dollars. The financial folks have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do to get these things identified and designed and actually get working. So don't want to get into that too much. Just thought I'd throw it up there. So upcoming active projects. This is one we just had a plan in hand for. This is the one down there. It's in an area of I-80 down by the grain elevators. If you know where the grain elevators are, for those of you that are into that. We chopped those off once when we widened the interstate. Some years ago, it looks like we're gonna have to lay that back a little farther. We have 7 lanes in each direction right there, but we need 8. So, and we've got bridge concerns down there as well. That's gonna be a bugger of a project. It's really hard to squeeze 190,000 cars through 3 lanes. It'd be kind of like the bottleneck we got right now in New Street, maybe on steroids, but we'll get it done. We gotta phase that. Trouble with that is a lot of it needs to be replaced. We've overlaid it a number of times. Overlays aren't lasting more than about 5 years. And that's just kind of wasted money. That's one of those Band-Aids that we put on there. We need to tear into this and go full depth and do a lot of replacement. What's next? We got. Yeah, this is one in the Pacific Street area. We're gonna add a lane through there. Those of you who come under there at night know that backs up to. We're gonna add a little bit of capacity going up there underneath Pacific and up into the Dodge Street corridor. And shortly after that project's done, then we have to go in and deal with some people think is the real problem, which is access to the Dodge Street Expressway. We're a little bit pinched there. Every day that one pinches down to 1 lane. So we're gonna work with the city and coordinate adding some capacity to that. We got a kind of a wicked weave in there that needs to be given a little more capacity so we can get more traffic by it. We're gonna actually add another ramp onto it, where you come under the ramp that exists and tie up in there to the south. At any rate, so just hit the button on that. And I'll show you. Every day our maintenance crews, our construction crews, and all of us are out there working in this. This is our work environment. It's a little different than other districts. We have to do a lot of work at night because you can't work during the day. It looks like this every day, every single day. This is what we deal with. So when something breaks, it isn't just a quick run out there and fix it thing. You ain't just drag the deer off the road kind of stuff. We have to set up a lot of signs, a lot of lanes, closures, a lot of advanced warning. We have to use all the technology available through the SOC and our DMSs and whatnot to communicate with the public, just to keep our people safe, to get the work done. The system's old, it's getting older. It's in good shape and we're keeping it in good shape and we're working damn hard to do it. And Jim's crews are out there. Sometimes it's unbelievable what they have to deal with. I think we've had 5 bull haulers, at least 5, tip over and release animals onto the freeway system. We've had, 4 shootings, I think, this year. I think one of them was naked. We've had, just a lot of different things you don't expect. And deck joints are probably our worst nemesis. When they blow up, you really gotta go in there and hit it 24/7 and get those fixed. And we got a lot of them. But, that's the system, that's our work, that's District 2. We don't forget about the other routes we have. We got all the way down from Highway 1 down on the south end. We got 91 and routes on the north end, the Blair area. They've got a beautiful bypass. We've got some nice stuff going on up there. All corners of the district, we're busy 24/7. And, yeah, any more money that anybody could scrap up, we figured District 7, District 8, could probably pitch in a little bit after they saw the video, but maybe not. No sympathy. We'll keep at it, we're working hard for you, so with that, I don't know if you want to move into questions or.
Any question?
Seeing none, thank you, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Now it's time for public input on the District 2 program. I would ask that you, this is a recorded hearing. If you would state your name, your represent, and spell your last name for us, please.
Bob Stubbe, Stubbe. I'm a public works director for the city of Omaha. Been in that position for almost 20 years. Obviously, we work very closely with the director and her staff. I think some of the individuals in the audience know that, as Commissioner Wolford indicated, that they're kind of state needs, wants, and concerns. So it's not something new to the district staff. So again, appreciate the opportunity to do that. State highways within the city of Omaha, and this doesn't include the interstate system, amounts to about 305 lane miles. And that's about 6% of the total lane miles that the city has responsibility for. We look at Dodge Street, L Street, 90th Street, Maple Street. Those are major corridors within the city of Omaha. And Tom indicated some of the traffic issues associated with the interstate system. We have the same situation within the city of Omaha. You look at 90th and Dodge, which is essentially an intersection of 2 state highways, 90th Street North, obviously Dodge Street being Highway 6. About 95,000 vehicles a day pass through that intersection. Get down to 72nd and Dodge. Again, you've got Highway 6, 72nd Street. It's not a state highway, but it's a major arterial that's on the national highway system. That's about 94,000 vehicles a day. You get down to the location that Tom indicated where the bridge is going to be replaced at 72nd and L. That's 35 to 45,000 vehicles on an average day. So it's a significant amount of traffic that exists within the Omaha metro area where state highways come into intersection with local roads. They are heavily trafficked, and they're not just used by residents of the city of Omaha. We've got commuters coming in from all of the communities around, that could be outside of the city limits, visitors coming in. We have ag coming in. We have commuter traffic, commercial traffic, freight traffic, all using those major corridors within the city of Omaha. And it's important for those assets to be properly maintained, support, and provide safe, reliable road service. We support the district program. Obviously, it's a benefit to everybody within the Omaha metro area that work be done on the state interstate system. It's important that the bridges that Tom indicated, 38th and L, as he indicated, has been a high profile. They look to the city of Omaha to try to help with regard to get that particular bridge taken care of. 72nd and L has been there for decades, definitely needs to be improved. And then the other one being the Dodge and Saddle Creek. Anybody has seen the news here recently where we've had some major rain events within the city of Omaha. That particular bridge was built during the WPA days in 1934, and it was a large sump there. In fact, I was telling Cleo earlier that the information, the history related to that indicated that they actually had to do a cut at that location in order for that bridge to go in. So there's a sump created there. So when we get a heavy rain, that area floods. And so the department provides and we believe it's significantly below what is adequately needed within the Omaha area. $600,000 provided to us. We put it within our program. We budget almost over 20 million on an annual basis, so it's a very, very small component. We believe that it should be at least 4 to 5 times that amount that's provided to the city of Omaha, so that we can incorporate Dodge Street resurfacing, L Street resurfacing, 90th Street, those projects within. We will manage those projects. We will bid them out. State doesn't really have to do anything and just provide us the funding so that we can incorporate that into our program. Again, we believe that we have a good relationship with the Department of Roads, recognize the demands on the department. Obviously, it's system-wide improvements, but we respectfully request that more funding be provided to preserve the heavily traveled non-interstate highways in the Omaha metro area. Thank you again for this opportunity.
What's your suggestion relative to the source of the funding that you're requesting at 45 times the current level?
The $64,000 question. Obviously, we all have demands with regard to revenue streams coming in. The major source of revenue that we get, really 2 sources. One is the gas tax allocation that comes back to the city of Omaha. The other is vehicle user fee that we have for registered vehicles within the city of Omaha. But the city has also done other things such as bonding. Obviously, Mayor Stothard back in 2020 put a bonding issue on the ballot. It's called street preservation bonds. It's supposed to be looked at as a revenue stream for some of those locations that don't necessarily have capacity improvement. Excuse me. It got almost 75% support from the residents of the city of Omaha. So we would look, obviously, bonding is something that the state hasn't necessarily used, but I think it's something that really should be given a strong consideration for funding additional roads within the city of Omaha metro area. And again, it's just not the city of Omaha. Obviously, we have 500,000 population. We're looking at the Omaha metro area being almost 1 million population. So there's a significant amount of people that are driving on those roads that aren't necessarily residents of the city of Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that money, the 600,000 comes out of the district's allocation at this time. We more or less program perpetually it's additional assistance. There is money that comes in with the maintenance agreement that we signed with the city. There's some additional money there, but really that's just keeping up with it, maintenance. And the only chance they have assistance wise through us is given the 600,000. It hasn't changed. It's been 600,000 for a lot of years, and there's a lot of roads that need to be. It's dedicated to surface maintenance only. So they take that money and do a really nice job, milling and overlaying and keeping those services tight for us.
But that money is over and above the gas tax share that the city gets.
That is my
Right
district.
out of your district.
Comes right out of my district allocation, which is dwindling. I mean, in 2028, my district allocation is 13.3 million, so
There you go. And our, I guess that's kind of news to me is this other district donate directly to cities. I don't know if District 7.
I did it in District 1 with the city of Lincoln. If Brandon, if he perpetuates that, that's his business, but we gave the city of Lincoln, not 600,000, but some, also.
You know, refresh my recollection, wheel tax is the tax that's imposed by the city of Omaha, correct? Or is that a statewide tax? City of Omaha.
Yeah. We call it a vehicle user fee. Yeah. Fee, not tax, rather.
So one thing we are looking at is, and you have your annual report in front of you today, gives a summary of where the department is in terms of our goals and strategies. We do look at a Nebraska Serviceability Index across the state. We look at it for all of our highways. We remember that we drive every mile of our highway in ways that we can properly communicate the quality of our roads to the state and then make sure that the quality of our roads annually is factored into our planning efforts. And so, and to answer your kind of question around that way, what we're doing is looking at the NSI by district to understand what our investments, how long our investments are actually going for, and what's the direct correspondence in regards to the quality we're getting. Because as Tom said, the buying power of the department's revenue is going down. And so what 600,000 could get for maintenance of highways is dwindling over the years. And so we're trying to understand where District 2's SI is as compared to where potentially District 8 or District 7, where we have a more rural population. One thing to note is because of the gas tax increase in 2015 and the investment we've seen over the last 10 years in our system, we've seen our NSI go up significantly. So we are at a pretty much a record high in terms of the quality of our roads. Now, as I've discussed with many of you, the quality of the roads is really a kind of a 10-year cycle. I mean, we're just kind of starting to over the last few years see the benefit of that investment, especially as you see the way that 2015 increase is staged out overall for 4 years for investment. And so our concern and what we've been communicating over the last 7 years is because of the dwindling of the buying power of departments overall, and what we generate into actual roads, we are concerned that NSI is going to start to drop recently. And so the question has to be is, where do you assume risk? And in order to be able to have a thoughtful conversation about where you assume risk, you first have to understand what by district in terms of population and overall traffic is the actual situation. And so we are going through the exercises right now that lead us to be able to provide an answer to Omaha's request. But we really need to have a proper analysis of what is the capability to do it. It's probably not going to be a long-term strategy, but is there a way to address what the existing situation is right now? Because as Tom just alluded to, we are putting roughly $700 million to $1 billion into the Omaha system over the next 10 years. 15 years. And so given that investment for the state, what is Omaha's requirement to also maintain their system as well as those major routes that are feeding into their system? So lots of thought conversation going on right now.
I think it's a bigger conversation than NSI. It's who's responsible for which streets. And this is one where it doesn't matter if you're in Omaha or in Imperial, Nebraska. It's who's funding the public streets, because I'll guarantee you I can find some streets in every town that has a very poor NSI. And this is a slow, it's a discussion on how we are going to fund roads in the entire state. Because if you think it's okay for you to give your district allocation to city streets. And that starts happening, other cities are gonna start knocking on the department store, saying, I want to send a tree.
These are state highways within the
Yes.
city limits.
600,000 actually takes care of our, the federal at the city. And so it's not going to city streets, it's going to on-system. It's just an agreement that allows Omaha to manage those funds in a way in which allows them to say, okay, we're going to consume risk here, but we really need to repair that. So it is not going off system.
Okay, so it is still on,
It is still on.
so you're putting additional, that makes more sense, that isn't how I understood what you said, so. That starts to make more sense, because I can see every other city, there is no city you talk to, I don't care, you get the same answer in Omaha. If you do, I go to a small town and they'll say, we can help on our streets, but the money doesn't go as far as the maintenance is required in the states. That's the simple fact of what you do, so how are we funding this? Big or small, it's the same section. Yeah. So.
We have worked with the legislature over the last 2.5 years of the Bill administration. I think we've been very successful with Governor Cohen's vision, and that is to be thoughtful of how what is the actual need. We were thankful for the administration's support for legislature concurring for the 70 million increase last year, which was some ARPA as well as some state cash. And so that allowed us to really address some of the spurs and some of the smaller pieces of roadway across the state that had been orphaned or maybe not taken care of just because of the location of it. And so we believe that that 70 million investment will drive the NSI up because there are some areas where we just needed attention. But again, that doesn't go to sustain revenue, which is where we need to get. So there was the bill in the legislature from Senator Mosier that addressed the Bill Nebraska Act and going from 1 cent to half cent, which was the original recommendation from Senator Fisher in 2011. And so we are in a place that many states are at in terms of revenue, where there is not an appetite for tax increases, but the buying power that you're getting from your revenue, your existing revenue, is just not enough to keep up with the program, let alone build the capacity that is needed to service the economic growth of the areas. And so, when we look at what other states are doing, it's hard not to look to our neighbors that have similar type atmospheres, whether it be legislatively, institution in terms of borrowing, other things. So if you look at Tennessee, for example, $4 billion into transportation in the last 3 years. Missouri is roughly $2 billion into I-70, which is their interstate program. Kansas is over $1 billion into the program. So, and that's additional revenue based on what we had going into 2020. And so we are seeing significant investment at the state and local level to fund transportation, because most states and local municipals do understand the overall role that transportation plays in economic development and the growth of their state, and understanding in order to grow revenue, you need to grow population. In order to grow population, you need to be able to have good roads. People get frustrated, quality of life is down. And so what we are making that case, we hope to be able to have a thoughtful conversation with the revenue committee for a legislative study going into next year. And I do think that the way that we've attacked this with LB 598 is similar to how it was attacked in 2009 going into 2011, which said we really need to, as a legislature, come together revenue appropriations and transportation telecom in order to have some sort of an agreement as to this is the need, and then to the need tie the revenue, and have an agreement going into an actual legislative bill, which is something we haven't had in the last 2.5 years. So we're working closely with the governor's office in order to address the need and answer that question. Where do we want to be in terms of investment, and how do we go in general?
Got into a discussion there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Mike Helgerson, HELBERSON, Executive Director of the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, the Omaha Council Bluffs Metropolitan Area Planning Agency. We serve as Regional Council of Governments for 6 counties, 4 in Nebraska, 2 in Iowa, and are the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Douglas and Sarpy County and the urbanized portion of Potawatomi County, that map that you saw Tom sharing his MPIS presentation. So here really in today, really to offer thanks for the continued partnership with the Nebraska Department of Transportation, in particular Director Kramer and her staff, Khalil and his team across local projects and planning and other things that we interact with on a routine basis. A couple of points I'd like to emphasize here today. One is also supporting the Metro Travel Improvement Study. That was a transformative effort for MAPA in our partnership with NDOT to create that cooperative agreement and framework around investment for the transportation system for our metro area. Notably, that three-legged stool that Tom alluded to of state investment, local investment, and transit investment that's going to help us realize both the goals and outcomes that we hope to see along this period of investment over the next 20 to 25 years. And as that program ramps up, there's going to be a lot of continued partnership on the implementation of those projects. And as they get into the project development process, how do we really kind of take that learning and understanding that we've had over the last 5 to 10 years since the adoption of that plan, and really make the smart decisions for both the residents of our metro and the state of Nebraska as a whole. So fortunate to have that continued partnership. I would note one thing on that MTIS study is that, you know, we had a large funding gap from that kind of scenario package 7 that Tom alluded to and highlighted. And so continued partnership with NDOT on advancing strategies to identify new sources of non-federal funding and federal funding is going to continue to be a priority for our members across our counties here in Nebraska. But I think there's been a lot of progress on it. One I would note is really a commendation to the NDOT on their work on the state infrastructure hub. I think that is unlike so much of what I have seen across so many states. And it's really a transformative effort, not just for our metro, but also for communities across the state to access funds, particularly with a bill like the IIJA that had so many discretionary programs that are hard to parse. And so really a tremendous effort there by Director Kramer for the leadership in that, and then really Jody and her team on the implementation of that. I think there's an amazing effort. As we look to reauthorization, I think there's going to be some really need to emphasize, as Director Kramer did, the need for continued support of those formula programs. I think those are the core of our program. We have regional funds that we allocate to projects through our committees. NDOT is a close partner in that, and on our project selection committee as well. And I think one of the things that we're looking ahead to is how do we continue the planning that we started with MTIS and really advance and accelerate project delivery and implementation across the board on our program. We partnered with this state of Nebraska on an application which looks like it's back on the street here for the notice of funding opportunity for the regional infrastructure accelerators, and really how do we find innovative strategies for delivering some of these key projects. And that was also awarded at the end of last year funding through the project prioritization process pilot program. Sorry, there's 4 Ps, I forget which one's which. About $2 million to really take and look at how do we prioritize our projects? How do we monitor priorities across the board for our local jurisdictions? How do we advance those potentially in packages with NDOT to really put our best foot forward for the discretionary grant opportunities that exist going forward into the future? Continued support for the MTIS program as well, just in terms of those key efforts that MAPA has led, like the planning and environmental linkages study for the interchange in Southwest Sarpy County. MAPA has followed on to that study with a project called the Western Sarpy County Transportation Enhancement Program, where we step to bring in those coordinated local investments through a complete streets approach, in really in coordination with Gretna, Springfield, and the city of Pacola in that really high growth area in Southwest Sarpy County. It's a project we're really proud of to leverage that investment that the state is helping to lead and bring that commensurate local investment alongside that as well. And I can't really speak about Southwest Sarpy County without talking about the South Sarpy Expressway, which is a key priority of our member Sarpy County and a project that they're working with local funding presently to advance. But I do believe that as we look to kind of that remaining gap in the program, there will be significant state and federal coordination that will be required to kind of fill that remaining gap in that project. We really think about the needs and development of that particular corridor. My final note here would just be on systemic safety as a whole. The IIJA had a really significant emphasis and uptick in investment in safety across really local and regional partners. MAPA was the recipient of a Safe Streets for All grant, a $750,000 planning grant that allowed us to create a comprehensive safety action plan that our board adopted last month. And this really, I think, aligns our local planning effort with what the state has been doing around Towards Zero Deaths for a long time. And with the city of Omaha more recently here with Vision Zero, having a systemic safety plan that really looks to eliminate traffic deaths and serious injuries by 2040. And alongside that, we're partnering with our local communities to continue to advance program and safety projects. There's a notice funding opportunity on the street presently that we're pursuing, but also in coordination with the highway Highway Safety Committee of NDOT. And Don Butler and his team have been tremendous partners in that planning process and really have provided us the data with which we're able to make those kind of informed, data-driven decisions throughout our program. So really just a word of thanks to Director Kramer and her team, all the partnership that we've had with NDOT, and looking forward to continued coordination here.
Thank you. Good questions.
I would just note that as Mike said, we have been working closely with NAPA in order to tackle what we do see as the problem is MTIS was, the way it was greenlit was really under a fiscally constrained environment. Meaning we identified needs, but then we said this is how much money we believe we can have, which has essentially gone down in buying power. This is essentially the program that we built. And so very similar to what we had to do 2 years ago with the needs study, bringing that to a fiscally constrained environment, we did that with MTIS, and we expect that program to even tighten. So what we have done is we've asked for the federal government's help, we're in the process of asking for the federal government's help. And we're using the 4P planning grant with MAPA to say, let's develop a project prioritization process to which we could make sure that the public understands how these projects are selected and make sure that it's refined in a way in which makes sense and it's aligned with both the governor's needs and the MAPA stakeholder needs. And so that ties very well into what was mentioned as the regional accelerator, and that is planning grant with the federal government to really look at innovative finance and other opportunities to generate revenue. And so that NOFO came out this week. We do expect the Trump administration to fund about 20 million in that program. So we are asking the max, which is typically right around 2 million, to bring federal funds into this world of prioritize the projects, then how do we practice innovative finance? Because projects that were mentioned in Sarpy County, for example, the Beltway, but that is not a project we'll entertain without the management. To your point, adding to our inventory is costly right now, and so we need to be thoughtful with what is a highway, what the new purpose that it serves, and so it's not going to be serving what we need to make sure that the true intent of the highway is there before it's eventually funding, and so we've got to be thoughtful, especially in terms of we can fund and system.
Good morning, Director Kramer and members of the State Highway Committee. My name is Sam Fruit. I serve as the Director of Legislative Research for the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of our 3,000 members and specifically the Chamber's Transportation Council, we want to thank the Department and Commission for your ongoing work in maintaining Nebraska's highway infrastructure, as well as the opportunity to give input here today for funding priorities, one of the best ways to maximize the safety and efficiency of our state highway system. The foundation for our shared belief on how best to achieve these goals is found in the MTIS study, which, as we heard today, identified critical needs for system performance improvements in the greater Omaha region, including congestion relief and multimodal enhancements. Furthermore, without performance-driven changes, Omaha's freeway corridors will continue to experience significantly increased congestion due to population and employment growth. While the MTIS recommendations are progressive and future-focused in nature, they currently remain underfunded. We believe the MTIS study offers a roadmap for how we can align future state and federal investments with Nebraska's long-term economic growth and mobility needs. With our shared goals of safety and efficiency in mind, it may be time to consider whether the state of Nebraska should explore adopting paradigm or system performance. We believe enhancing existing goals with criteria that incorporates reduced congestion, improved travel times, and enhanced safety and mobility can help us address many of the challenges brought up in the MTIS study. Simply put, exploring this topic and considering future action on the MTIS study could help the Department and Commission stretch limited funding further in the coming decades. Thank you again for the time and for your continued partnership with various stakeholders in the greater Omaha region. We remain excited about the department's new regional funding initiatives through the Regional Infrastructure Accelerator and Project Prioritization Pilot Program, as well as the continued support of local cities to the Nebraska Infrastructure Hub. Thank you again for the opportunity to input today and for all the work for the state.
Thank you. And I will just note the bill that I mentioned earlier is LB 558, and it did just advance to select files. So we are seeing hopefully a bill that allows us to invest in these needs.
We're really excited about that work.
Thank you to the Chamber for your support.
Anybody else wish to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to the presentation on Highway 81. Kyle Keller.
Good morning, Director Kramer, members of the commission. Again, my name is Kyle Keller. I'm with the Project Development Division. I do have the honor to present on this US 81 corridor here today, York to Columbus. Doing slides, actually. So I'll be leading a discussion on just really a project overview and this current scope of work, the design features, the work that we've done today with public involvement with the project members, the stakeholders through the corridor. We'll get into the anticipated cost and the schedule of this development, talk about the different construction packages. And then at the end, we do have a request that the commission provide recommendation to the governor for approval of project location, design, and access control for this corridor. Next slide. So this corridor is part of the overall expressway expansion. This starts from the US 81 corridor from Nebraska Kansas line up to Norfolk. As Tom talked about, the different expressway systems corridors that Nebraska is developing here for the state. This portion from York to Columbus is another part that fills that gap in towards the completion of the expressway system. This purpose does go in line with the overall legislative 10 to 1988 to complete the expressway system. With this corridor, we're looking to improve that regional connectivity in this portion of the state, District 4 area, while maintaining this access here with highways such as 34, 66, 92, 69, and 64, while also maintaining accesses to the different communities and the locals along this corridor. With this expansion, we look to really improve this overall condition of the existing infrastructure and fill in that gap towards the expressway system and just really improve the efficiencies that we're seeing along here. Next slide. Just really a high level overview of this York through Columbus corridor starting kind of north of York and then is just south of Columbus, just a little bit north of the 64 intersection. So this is a 40-plus-mile corridor. Does include going through 3 different communities. There's agricultural area out here, definitely residences and businesses in this area. And so we are utilizing what's Tom referenced before, this 2+2 strategy, which we've used a lot towards the completion of the expressway system, where we're utilizing those existing 2 lanes and designing and constructing 2 new lanes offset to create the 4-lane expressway. This 2+2 philosophy is more than just adding 2 new lanes. So this is really a necessary tool that NDOT has utilized in order to really complete this expressway system. It allows us to really provide that flexibility to complete this system. The landscape of these corridors have changed. There's more development. So we have to rethink how this system is going to work and how we're going to connect those different communities. How we can reduce the impacts there by still making those necessary improvements we need to create the 4-lane system and provide that operational efficiencies to make a more reliable corridor for these areas. To the work to date, we've developed some different alternatives along this using that 3+2 concept, and we discussed those with the public. We've had different public meetings and stakeholder events. And we presented a preferred alternative, and we compiled all that information into what's called a final environmental assessment that has been submitted to our federal partners for review. This 2+2 approach, as we talked about, so this allows us to build this without the use of detours. So the existing 2 lanes can be constructed in the clear, and while we maintain traffic on those existing lanes, once those new lanes have been developed, we have a couple different options. One, we can shift all the traffic over to those new lanes and conduct some resurfacing, or we can make this function more of a 4-lane and have 3 lanes of traffic in one direction, and then close 1 lane at a time and conduct some resurfacing on those existing lanes. Ultimately, we're moving towards completion of the four-lane expressway, which is 2 lanes of traffic in each direction. So let's get into a little more detail. This 2+2, we'll start with the majority of this. This is the rural 2+2 section. So we have 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, typically around a 10-inch valid concrete pavement. And then we have 8-foot shoulders on the outside. The lanes are separated by a 54-foot median. Within that median is a 4-foot inside shoulder on each side. And the existing lanes will undergo some type of asset preservation strategy. So it's some type of mill under surface to just really preserve that existing asset. Next slide, sorry. A little bit of nuance here from what we typically presented here for the expressway systems and creating 4 new lanes is we do have 2 different areas that have a 3-lane section. And really, again, this kind of gets into just really what fit along the corridor through here and for these communities. The left that you're seeing on the screen is in Osceola, and this is a 3-lane section. So we have 1 lane of traffic in each direction separated by, there's a center left turn lane, and we do have 8-foot shoulders on the outside. In Shelby, we're going to utilize the existing curb section through here where we have a lane in each direction separated by that center turn lane. So getting into, we kind of talked about that we've worked towards that final environmental assessment. So just really, let's just take a step back of what got us to that point. So as with this 2+2 approach, we look to develop a study area. So we look at impacts from adding lanes from either the left or the right of those existing lanes. We look at impacts to sort of resources in the area that are wetlands, streams, channels, hazardous materials, threatened and endangered species. We look at noise and air studies through the area for adding these lanes. So section 106, which is historic properties to the area, and then we have section 406F, which are the parks and recreational areas to the area. We also look at impacts to businesses, personal residences. So there's any types of potential for relocations along the corridor, impacts to say pivot irrigation systems. We develop these alternative analysis. And then we collectively look through these different types of impacts of which side of adding these things will have the least amount of impacts. And we present this to the public. We'll get into a more detail on public involvement today. As well as then which is then our preferred alignment for the corridor. And then we document this as far as the impacts to the corridor and ways to potentially mitigate those. And then we document that decision with related impacts and the work we've done with the public into a environmental assessment with our federal partnership. Next slide. So public involvement, again, we mentioned it's a 40+ mile corridor. So we needed multiple areas to conduct these different meetings. So we had public information meetings going back March 2024. We had York, Shelby, and Osceola. Collectively, there was about 300 people that attended these meetings. And in October of 2024, we did have a public hearing where 141 people attended, and we did receive 37 comments. This is where we presented that preferred alternative for the corridor. We also had different stakeholder meetings in Cross County School, Stromsburg, Osceola, Shelby, and then we did have stakeholder meetings with 11 different property owners along the corridor, again, of how this project could potentially impact them. As part of that public outreach, we did receive some different comments, some R cuts and roundabouts. Tom talked about R cuts earlier. We'll get into just a little more detail about those. Some of the things with pedestrian safety and the speed limits in the city. So again, we're going through different types of communities. What is that going to look like? There was comments on bypasses, which is very common with these expressway projects. I will say that majority of the public, the response was they did like they go through the alignment and not utilize bypasses for this corridor. And then we do get comments on schedule. Most of the time it's more NDOT, we're ready for this project. When are you going to build it? Next slide. So with this, we're going to step through the preferred alternative. So this map here that you see, this is the overall corridor. So this is how we, developing these alternatives, we found a balance of really that purpose and need. We looked at the environmental, social, and economic impacts and to develop this preferred alternative. Next slide. So going through this in some different segments. So this starting on the south end, just north of York, and then moving up towards the north. You can see that the new lanes are kind of maroon type color. With the majority of the new lanes are on the right side of the existing or the east side direction. Through this area, we do have a couple areas where we're going to utilize R-cut intersections, and then if you look up towards the north, you can see a symbol for a roundabout. As we're changing this corridor, moving from kind of north-south to then directionally west-east, we're going to utilize these roundabouts to act as more of a curve through that area. Next. So then moving that directionally from west to east and through the communities of Osceola and Shelby, the new lanes will be designed and constructed on the left side of the existing lane, which is the north side here direction. And you can see again that roundabout area that will then take us into going into the final segment up towards the north side. And so kind of moving north from Shelby, going towards N64, the new lanes will be placed on, which will be in the left side of the existing lanes or the west side and directionally up the map. Next slide. So getting into a little more detail, Tom had a picture. I think, Tom, we're going to have the same picture here on this archive here on 1030, but getting into really a little more detail of why. And so we have 3 locations of these archives. So our restricted crossing U-turns, as they're called. So Spur 9050C, we have N66 and N64. So again, adding 2 new lanes to this for this expansion, we do have to look at how these intersections are now going to function. And so looking at the overall operations of people entering and exiting on 81 and that through traffic on 81, with this, there was some different crash history, and we did see a need to really make sure that we're improving the overall safety and operations of this. The R cuts were selected to prioritize the 81 corridor, so people on 81, they can continue to go through the corridor, whereas the approaching lanes on 81, they cannot make a left turn at that intersection, and so they'll have to go up a quarter of a mile or half a mile or so, and then come back around, make a U-turn. Next slide has a better picture against this is where I think we're coordinated on this one. Although I think mine has a little bit cooler vehicle going through here. So we do have a semi truck that's actually, so again, they were not able to, this is on US 30, we're not able to make a left on the highway. And so they had to go up again about that a quarter of a mile or so and then make a U-turn to then get in the direction they were looking to go. We also talked a little bit about from public comments, pedestrians access, as well as those kind of speed limits to town. So as part of the project, those communities, Shelby and Osceola, we did evaluate traffic flow, pedestrian volumes, really the existing infrastructure. So what they're actually using for their pedestrians out there between the signage and what other devices they have. And we looked at these pedestrian crossings and then traffic control devices. Our proposals will have some safer and more efficient movements of these pedestrians through this area, where we're going to utilize some new signage. We'll create some more efficient crossings, and then we'll put in the flashing beacons, and they'll have a push button control for crossing through these areas. Another big portion of these expressway systems in adding 2 new lanes is really the access control. So NDOT does, we have the duty to really regulate the public access of abutting our highway. With this of adding 2 new lanes, we want to make sure that we provide a safe environment. We want to make sure that it's efficient, and we want to make sure we're reducing accidents and those conflict points through there. So we look to do that by potentially relocating and consolidating those different accesses, establishing the correct spacing through here, because we do have the higher speeds through here. With this type of approach, we typically make sure we're providing full access at those county road intersections, so we provide those. We also look at, what kind of developments out there. So these are our private residences, it's our businesses, right? That's where the traffic is going. They're using that multiple times, possibly a day. So we make sure that we do not disrupt those operations as we go through this access control. But we start with our different types of spacing, and that'd be 1,000 foot, no more than 3 per mile. We do try to encourage some ride in and ride outs. We utilize so again, similar to that R-cut situation, maybe just a field drive or something to where farmers getting in and out with maybe farming ranching operations. They want to keep their drive there. So we been providing more just write-in and write-outs and not allowing them to have full access to the left intersection. Next slide. Now getting into just really high level cost and schedule. Some of this is again where we've been, but I do want to focus on a little more about. As mentioned, we have completed, we have a preferred alternative, and we are currently doing some what's considered more final design in this to really refine our overall footprint, so then our right-of-way staff can then design, appraise, and then work towards acquiring the necessary right-of-way to build, operate, and maintain this new expressway. The overall cost of this project is estimated at up to $450 million as of right now. We'll kind of get into that a little more here on this next slide. You saw on this the schedule before, and so we have, we've been developing this entire 40-mile segment. We have separated it out into different construction packages. I'm not going to really focus on those today. Just understand that there are 6. We are looking to what makes sense from a logical standpoint as it start, going either from a north working south or south, working north. So obviously we want to make sure that as we start to develop these, we can make it useful. So we're not looking at, hey, what's the potential of starting construction in the middle of this corridor. So we want to make sure that as soon as these are constructed, they're useful to the public. And so as of right now, we are working towards fiscal year 2029 for this development. So we are being proactive with that. However, the new BNA money that looks like there's funding potentially 2032. But obviously, Vicki and the director's office are looking daily at what types of opportunities do we have where we can fund these sooner and deliver these earlier here to state and funds. With that overview, you should have in front of you a document with the resolution. So I am going to ask before the Highway Commission to sign this resolution. So this would be a recommendation to the governor for approval for project location, design, and access control on the project.
Question for Kyle? Quick question, being a new person on here, why are we required to propose this or pass this?
Yeah.
Legally,
Is it? What's it? It's no statutes.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Schroeder. I'm the chief counsel. Nebraska law requires, particularly for access control, that we get the consent of the Highway Commission and then go to the governor for final approval for us to put in place control of access. We also do that with respect to location decisions, so that NDOT can go forward formally with your approval.
Typically, we get projects that have a lot of right-of-way involvement. So this does, it's got right-of-way on every mile, just right. So, yeah, so that's why they come to us. Makes sense. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, approve.
Okay, been moved by Commissioner Kinsey.
Second.
Okay. Second. Okay, discussion. Go
Well,
ahead.
I think this is, for me, this is kind of exciting because Father always talked about the Pan American roadway that was between Texas and Canada, and Highway 81 was always that. And then right up before that was the old Chisholm Trail. It's Highway 80. So it's always been an important north-south. And you were telling that it's been 4 lanes south of Columbus for a while.
Historically, the original first miles of the express system was from Columbus south. It's only about 7 miles. They haven't built any more express lines. So this is really the first addition or extension of that original 7 miles. So long past it.
It's a long awaited project. Looks like it's gonna be extended farther than thought, but, there's a lot of excitement building it, and, I think it's gonna be a crucial asset for transportation, especially.
on way 81 is. I think you're gonna see a lot of truck traffic. There is a lot now. You're gonna see so much more going north instead of entering on I-29 going through Lincoln. And I think this is really gonna have an impact on transportation there. And it'll have a great economic boom as well. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, one of the first meetings I ever went to when I was commissioned about 12 years ago was a meeting in York. And there was, that's what this was all about, was this expressway. And it wasn't the best meeting. People wanted a lot of answers, and there's no answers. Today we have some answers, and I think it's really going to be a good project that everybody will be happy with. It's completed. Again, there's a lot of excitement building. There's a lot of unknown when it comes to the archive. And the other scenario is pedestrian school kids going back and forth across the highway to school. But we've answered most of that. And going to have some real training on the archives. There's a school before you get to Spalding or Brownsburg, and we're going to have some training there for the kids when they come out of school, because most of them are going to end up going south, making the U-turn, because they're going to be going north. And so I think we've answered a lot of questions, and we certainly had a lot of questions at the meetings. But I think we've done a good job. NDOT and people that were there remember the meetings. They answered questions in good fashion. So I really look forward to it.
I would just say that this is really one of the last major corridors to tackle their operational plan and then the update in terms of the expressway. While it's great news and we're incredibly happy that project development has gotten to the point where you have just able to back that, as Kyle said, we look back the start time that we're starting to talk about because of the constraints around the budget. So that 2032 timeline is where it sits today. Obviously, we're seeing buying power being adjusted, loss of inflation and whatnot. Move some of our schedule around, but we have to get the project right. We don't want to sit and try to speed because of the uncertainty. That said, I will remind you that right now our bonding sunsets in 2029. This is not right now under issue a potential project. We need to go and get additional reporting legislature to extend our bonding situation for our statute, as well as understanding that that is going to be tied to the Nebraska sunset of 2042. And so as we work with the commission and legislature and governor's office to deliver, there's going to be significant different statutes that we have to tackle in order to make it valid once doing that timeline that is conducive to the opportunity to see for potential alternative delivery of see that people both have corridor, so we're not in a 275 type situation where we're on a corridor. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, let's call the question.
Was there any public input?
But we can't have, we do have no problem. It's public input for this. Seeing none, let's call the question.
Commissioner Coppell,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hendrick,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Mello,
Yes.
Wolford,
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Mark, from the chair, the one thing I would like to point out, this issue isn't just, that's the highway 81, it's not a District 2 issue. We'll call it a couple of weeks ago. There are a couple other issues like this coming up. And ask if we can put it on, the meeting rather than have a special meeting and anything where we have to come for a separate meeting. I told that made a lot of sense, so I put this on there. You're gonna see this, probably another one like the District 8 meeting. Right, and then another one at District 7 maybe, or so we are gonna take up some of these issues that don't deal with the district in upcoming meetings, so we don't have to have a special meeting. One commission to one of that. Public meetings.
NDOT's public involvement team has some upcoming meetings, including a public hearing for the BNSF Bridgeport project from 5:30 PM to 7:30 PM on May 13th, 2025 at Prairie Winds Community Center in Bridgeport. And additionally, a public meeting for the N66 connection in Louisville project from 5 to 7 PM on May 29th, 2025 at Louisville Public Schools in Louisville. The next scheduled Highway Commission meeting is June 27th, 2025 at 8:30 AM in the council room at the O'Neill City Office, which is located at 401 East Fremont in O'Neill, Nebraska.
Thank you. No further business. We are adjourned.